Oh dear. I haven't a clue where the hell I am. Sorry about this swear word. I don't know where the hell that came from. Let's start over. From Lewis in the Black Horse Pub. It's one of those days. Mother told me I'd have days like this. It started this morning when I woke up and thought it was Friday. Then, when I tried to get out of bed, it was a problem. Most people have no problem. She's an active, beautiful lady, and she's brought her grandson in this morning, Toby, to keep her company and to help her. He's already helped me carry in my bag, which was the highlight of my day because everything else had gone wrong. I tried to get out of bed, and when you've got Parkinson's, that's easier said than done. So I eventually made it. Then, when I tried to get dressed, I got both legs into one trouser leg and had to start over. When I got outside, my scooter was swamped from some overnight rain, so I had to dry that out. Then when I got here, I put my key into the door, turned the lock, and it wouldn't open. So I had to wait for Ada to arrive to actually get me into the place. Then the mouse that worked yesterday didn't work today. And I started off, and because I'm using my finger as a mouse, which I'm hopeless at, it's all over the place, and that's why you saw several false starts. And anyway, I was a minute late. Oh, woe is me. As I said, Mother told me I would have days like this. So what else can go wrong? I have no idea, none whatsoever. All I can tell you is that I've got Mr. Henty, John Henty, in at 10 o'clock, and that can spell disaster, amusing disaster, but disaster all the way along. In the meantime, we'll try and do some sensible things with using my mouse, my finger as a mouse. First of all, well, let me tell you about some of the popular things at this pub. First of all, the pub quiz. It was packed out last Sunday. It's a very, very popular pub quiz. So if you want to enjoy it, make sure you either book a seat or get here early enough to get any of the vacant ones. Pub quiz, the second Sunday in every month throughout the year, starting at 8 o'clock. Until the middle of March, we've got the Six Nations. And the next one up, of course, is England versus Scotland, and not the easiest fixture anymore. At one time, the Scots would roll over. Not anymore. Tough fighting force now. In fact, the standard in the Six Nations has risen considerably. The Irish are managing to maintain their role and their honour roll, that sort of role. And they are busy slaying everybody in front of them. And that's the last match of the series, I believe, England against France. But for the moment, it won't be this coming Saturday. It's a weekend off. They prepare the scars that they've accrued from the matches they've played so far. And in the main, they've been fairly entertaining matches. The Italians have been the surprise, even though they got knocked down heavily last week by the Irish. But the Irish, as I said, are slaying all before them. The Irish are really playing some brilliant rugby. And they will continue to do so to the end of the series. Now they've knocked off France, which they did, not with relative ease, but they came out on top without too much trouble. And so, anyway, a good series so far, and you can watch it at the Black Horse each weekend that it's on. Not this weekend, but the weekend afterwards. And if you're particularly interested in the English matches, then I would imagine that as they're away in Scotland, they may well be the first match of the afternoon. I know it's difficult to say. I'll check the time. And then, of course, a weekend feature is the Sunday lunch here. Now, we got a new chef at the start of the year, and his standard is very high. But like all new things, he had to settle into the kitchen. And now his food is absolutely superb, top quality. And as Declan, our chief of staff, but also the head of the pub, the landlord here, said he's experimented with his gravy, and the gravy now is first class, and indeed it is. Because I'm not recommending anything to you that I don't taste myself. I am here most Sundays for my lunch. So there you are. That's where we're broadcasting from. That's what our studio is used for. When we're not broadcasting, is either for eating or drinking. And I'm very happy to say I support the drinking effort. It's a lovely pub. Anyway, back to business. And you normally like to know what the and I'm not sure that I've got. Oh, there we go. I think all I got to do is to yes, is punch one little button, and I've got it. Today? Wow, it's going to reach 14 degrees. Which is what it was reaching towards the end of last summer. We've got sunny intervals, and although it's not sunny at the moment, it's not raining either. And it's rather pleasant outside because, as I said, I couldn't make the key work. So I sat outside for 15 minutes waiting for Ada to come and rescue me. And I was not cold. I was not cold this morning. It is a half decent day. So sunny intervals and a gentle breeze. And at 2 o'clock until 3 o'clock, it's going to be cloudless. We're going to have brilliant sunshine, and it will reach the maximum temperature for the day. And then it will continue with sunny periods throughout the afternoon until this evening. It's going to be the same pattern. We're going to have a relatively clear skies. It's going to stay at 11 degrees overnight, which is very warm for this time of year. Goodness gracious me, not bad at all. And tomorrow it's not going to be quite as warm. It's going to drop a degree to 13 degrees, but it's also going to be sunny intervals. And on Saturday, 12 degrees, getting a little cooler, but season of mists, which was 4 months ago, is returning this Saturday the 12th. Then we go back to rain on Sunday. It always rains on Sunday. I believe it was Googie Withers who was actually in that movie. It always rains on Sunday. So it's rather a depressing and maudlin movie, as I recall. But nonetheless, in those days, they really could act. Because they didn't have half the technical things to support them that they have nowadays. So there we are. We've done our duty, letting you know what there is here for leisure. And of course, actually, not only do they have 1, 2, 3, 4 big screens for television, but they have two of the pitch and toss games, the names of which I knew 2 minutes ago, and in between time while I've been talking, as I've forgotten. It's right on the tip of my tongue, and you pitch a disc into a little box. It's got a hole in it. Isn't it funny? It's lurking there. The word is lurking there, but age makes you forget some of these things, and it'll come roaring back any minute now. Toads, that's it. As if I, believing that the best book ever written is Wind in the Willows, why would I forget toads? I have no idea how I can do things like that. But as you get older, you get more interesting because you start a conversation and everybody starts to guess with you what it is you plan to say. And 9 times out of 10, what comes out is not at all what you intended to say, but an interesting conversation contributed to by those people that you're talking to. Toads. They've got 2 toad stools. Yes, they are. They're stools, really. 2 toadstools in the Black Horse. So you could play 2 games at once. And of course, they got a darts board and so on. And since I'm here quite a bit, I know that they're well used. So it's a good leisure pub, but it's also a good pub. You can get good food here, as I just pointed out, but also it has retained its character as a pub, not a restaurant, and doesn't tend to be a restaurant. So it is a great place to come and enjoy yourself in a pub atmosphere, which is rapidly disappearing from the country scenes. And plenty to do and to get involved in. So there you are. Now, the unfortunate thing is, it is 17 minutes past 8 o'clock, and what we have to do is to get involved in the. Ada's talking to Toby. Is it Toby? Yeah. Tony. Toady.
No, C.
Cody.
Yeah.
Cody.
Yeah.
Right. I have to get that right, Ada. Yep. Cody. Right. And she's carrying on a conversation with Cody, who's here this morning. It's half term, and he's coming to give her some uh, succor and comfort, and to help her clean the pub, which she does exceptionally efficiently. And not only that, to give me a bit of a hand, because if you really want to giggle, seeing me try to carry the holdall in which this television station is encased across the pub is hilarious. I mean, if anything's going to make me fall down, it's carrying and fetching things. So he's keeping me on my feet this morning, and Ada has brought me coffee. We run out of chocolate bars, so I can't munch a breakfast. But other than that, is one must look forward to the day because, as I said earlier, it's the sort of day that Mother told me I would have. Mother said I would have days like this, and everything so far in the day has gone wrong. Everything, and whether in fact I can steer it back on track, I have no idea whatsoever. But at least perhaps all my misery will come in one day. Hey, well, now what we've got to do is to look at the news, the front pages of the newspapers, because although much of it is gloom and doom, it is essential that we know. Now, you see, when I do the mouse with my finger, is I get all sorts of pages crop up, and I have no idea why. Is So I suddenly got the Express without any explanation whatsoever, and so we will try and get back the general papers and see whether we're. Well, there I've got the broad thing. Yeah. Now let's the newspaper headlines. There they are. Right. Okay. I think that we're back on track. But and hold your breath, because it's one of those days. It is one of those days. Right. Okay. The Times. Worst anti-Semitism for 40 years since atrocities. A number of today's papers lead with figures published by the Community Security Trust CST charity on a rise in anti-Semitism in the UK. The Times reports findings from the charity that Hamas attacks on Israel and their aftermath drove anti-Semitism in Britain to its highest level in more than 40 years. The paper carries a comment from Home Secretary James Cleverly, who decries anti-Semitic hatred and abuse. The paper also shows an image of the Queen surrounded by dames on Wednesday night at an event to mark 400th anniversary of Shakespeare's first folio. Now, when we say the Queen, I keep on thinking of our past Queen Elizabeth, but they mean Queen Camilla, of course. So the photograph is of Camilla, along with people like Judi Dench and so on, who've been made dames, and rightly so. But let us the Triffid report, which is my rant into things that I deem to be unfair. It will take place now because anti-anything is reprehensible, and anybody who is got any anti-feelings should be ashamed of themselves. We're all biased, and unintentionally so. It's when you're intentionally biased, when you intentionally foster hatred, that is the dreadful part of the human psyche. Mirador Television does not have any isms. We don't care who you are or what you are, as long as you can do the job. In that sense, we are meritocrats. We like people who can do the job. But even if they can't, we give people a chance. We've had dozens of people who have said that they would like to be on telly, and we've said, yeah, okay, come on, have a go. And do you know, it's not that they're not any good, because actually the mystique of television presenters, and take a look at them, take a look at me, right? The mystique, if you like, is all generated by us. There's nothing special about it at all. it's, we're just ordinary workmen, workwomen, and we're no different to anybody else. And anybody can learn our skills in a very short order. But do you know why most people falter? Is what they're not prepared for is the fact that we don't just sit there. It's bloody hard work. That's the key to whether you stick it or not. It is bloody hard work. You have to work at all sorts of odd hours. You have to work on holidays. You have to miss parties. You have to miss friends' dinners. You have miss all sorts of things because you're working and because the profession demands that you react and work to events that are happening around you. And you can't change those events. That's what stops people becoming television presenters and some of them becoming stars. They don't like the hours. And that's one thing that you really, if you want to be a television presenter, present yourself to Mirador. We happily will give you a go. And not only that, it is training, which would cost you £1,000 a day in London, will be given to you free. Because we believe that you should develop talent in your own backyard. And I am happy to say, and you see some of the people that have gone through us, our ranks, have worked for short periods of time or long periods of time for Mirador. We still use the archives, and you've seen them. And some of them are better, in fact, much better than the stuff you see on the BBC. It's partly because the BBC are very introverted when it comes to what television should be all about. They don't move with the times. They have this stupid idea, which goes back to the days of Lord Reith, who was an exceptional man. The BBC can thank its lucky stars that it had it as first Director General, because he was dogmatic and bullheaded and so on, and got on with it. But in those days, they had what they call studios, where they cut out extraneous noise and extraneous views and so on. Well, we don't do that anymore, except the BBC and to some extent ITV. Life is going on around us, as you can tell. We're broadcasting from a pub. Okay, the punters aren't here at the moment, but quite often the host is Declan, the cleaner is, all sorts of other odds and sods wander in, and they are there. They're real. They're part of life. So we don't have any isms at all. If you can show and demonstrate any inkling whatsoever that you can do the job, is you're welcome. The only thing is that we do it for free at the moment. We do it as a community service. We're trying to change that, but we took a heavy hit in lockdown, and we are trying very hard to get our way back, and we are bit by bit. Never give up, never surrender. And just making sure that we got Wi-Fi, and indeed we have, to make sure that you're getting a decent signal home. Right, you are. Now, as my rant is this: those people that are eaten up with whatever they're eaten up with against Jews had better look at themselves, because what you might find unattractive about the Jewish nation, and actually the only thing I find disagreeable about them is their prime minister, and that has nothing to do with the being Jewish. That's just his nature. But if you are anti-Semitic, it is. Oh, please. That's okay. Black is fine. Thank you. You see how well we're looked after? It's wonderful. But look at it this way. I don't care what nationality you're from. There's bound to be some unattractive features to your nature, unattractive features to your race, unattractive features of your ethnicity. But it's right and proper that we should expect from other races, other ethnics, other tribes, if you like, is an understanding of what we're all about. Hate has no part whatsoever in a civilized society. And I'm looking at you. If you're anti-Jewish, get off the pot. Start to look in an unbiased way at people. I personally have never been treated anything but kindness and consideration from Jewish people. It's the same with Catholics. It's the same with black people. It's the same with Chinese people, Asian people. Yes, I've met some nasty ones, but they are nasty. It has nothing to do with their ethnicity. And just because I'm treated badly by somebody from a particular race does not mean that that entire race should be subject to my scorn and my hate. So if you're of that disposition, go away and do it somewhere down a country lane. Don't nastiness, viciousness, and fear. And for that matter, illogical views of any particular race. Let's see. This is. Oh, thank you, darling. This is the Mail. The explosion in hatred against Jews in Britain. Hundreds of violent assaults in worst ever year. Every police force had reports of anti-Semitism, and the Home Secretary calls the new figures utterly deplorable. Those are the subheadlines. The Daily Mail reports that British Jews suffered an explosion in hatred in the wake of the Hamas attack. The paper says the CST recorded at least one anti-Semitic incident for every police force in the United Kingdom, with the majority, more than 2,400, in London. Well, one would expect the preponderance to be in London. That's where the biggest population is. It doesn't necessarily mean that all Londoners have anti-Semitic views. The Guardian. Well, it's associated, but it's not about anti-Semitism. Is a new ceasefire vote ramps up pressure on Starmer. The wheels are starting to come off. The veneer that they built around the Labour Party is, and let me say that it probably is a veneer, because nowadays, with public relations, is taken me a spin. Tony Blair's spin doctors have a lot to answer for in making us believe that if you've got PR, what you're doing is you're actually giving out the image that you want to project to whatever your public is. Well, that's not what it's all about. What it's all about is letting your public, whoever they may be, know who you are, what you are, where you are, why you are, and then trying to persuade them that either you will change if it's unattractive, or, okay, bye, darling. It is letting people know your true nature. And if it's unattractive, showing them how you're going to alter it, is that they are lucky to have you in the community, and that you should, or they should, bond with you and help you promote yourself as the organization that you really are. The Guardian reports that Keir Starmer is facing a fresh test of authority as MPs prepare to vote on a second parliamentary motion calling for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza next week. The Labour leader and his officials will spend the next few days deciding how to handle a Scottish National Party motion on the Middle East crisis, after the party's abstention on a similar vote in November triggered a huge split in the party, and 10 front bench. So the Guardian says. Well, that shows the level of commitment that we have from our MPs, and from it doesn't matter which party you're talking about. MPs are MPs. The fact is, you don't like something, you quit. Oh, we've all done it. And then we've all regretted it. We've all felt ashamed about it. Well, at the highest level, we actually vote for these people to go to represent us. And they don't represent us by quitting. They don't represent us by withholding a vote. If they want the money, which is generous to say the least, to be an MP, if they want the money, then they have to stay the course. You can't take the king's shilling. Good morning. What are you doing? What are you doing in? All right. Well, your parcel has not arrived. I am the guardian of the boss's deliveries today. The fact that I was locked out was really bothering me. Anyway, Declan is here, so all is well in the world. Right, okay. So my rant was that if they are going to take the money, they've got to perform the job. Otherwise, don't just resign, quit, and stop taking the money and stop pretending that you can make a contribution and give somebody else a chance. There, that's our view. The Daily Telegraph. Now, this headline is very disturbing. Russia will put nuclear weapons into space. That is the fear expressed by the Americans. First of all, the Americans are very close to nuclear development. But secondly, they also, despite the fact that we sometimes think of our spies and their spies, in fact, everybody's spies, much like Inspector Clouseau, they do have a pretty good idea of what's going on. And if the Americans are worried about the Russians putting stuff into space, you can bet your bottom dollar the Russians are at least thinking about it. And once again, I don't care which nation we're talking about. We play no favorites. Is the people who in the 1970s and 1980s marched against nuclear war are as legitimate today as they were back then. Nuclear war can be devastating for the human race, and it just shows you how close we can come to it. We've got the North Koreans who just fire off rockets into the Sea of Japan willy-nilly and to be provocative. Their leader says he almost has got a divine right of kings to flatten South Korea. We've got a president who most people say, he's strutting because he's KGB and so on. His very nature is aggressive. Well, to some extent, that's true. But also, he has, in his life, been conditioned to think that Russia should be an empire. And if you grow up as an American, you believe that America should be an empire. You don't use the word empire, but nonetheless, although they take part in so many foreign wars and conflicts. If you're a Brit, yes, to some extent, we're taught about the past glories of empire, but we still, as the world's fourth-fifth largest economy, believe a certain amount in what we are entitled to. We have an entitlement. So we don't think too differently to President Putin. Where perhaps we differ is there isn't a great deal of resentment that we've lost much of our empire. He resents it enormously that the Russian Empire has disappeared. And that is we start to understand what drives him a little bit more, instead of just assuming that he's a hard man and wants war for war's sake. The closer we'll come to a solution. I thought you might like to look at. Well, you've been looking at my face when I've been reading and so on. I need to look at it with you because when I'm ranting, I get carried away. and I'm not the even unbiased character that I pretend to be. I'm as biased and bigoted as anybody. Perhaps the difference between me and a lot of people is that I don't accept those traits as being attractive in me. I like to try and do away with them and to handle them. But to be able to do that, I have to understand that A, I've got them, and B, what their manifestation is. Now, I try hard, very hard, to do away with bigotry. It's there. Look at me, I can't help it. Actually, I can't help it. Is that I sometimes do not know that I'm being bigoted, I'm being biased, that I am demonstrating some of the distasteful attributes that I'm accusing others of. And that is a fact of life. Okay, we'll go back. The Daily Telegraph reports that Russia wants to put a nuclear weapon into space. US intelligence indicates what is described as a serious national security threat. The paper says Joe Biden was urged to declassify United States intelligence on the military operation, which has been shared with every member of US Congress. At least they can say that the people in charge of governing the United States aren't aware of the threat. All right, the Daily Mirror. They change the theme. NHS nurses crisis. Fears for the health service future as student medic numbers plummet. The Daily Mirror says that a collapse in nursing recruitment is risking the future of the NHS and will put patients in danger. It reports the concerns from the Royal College of Nursing that the number of applications for degree courses poses a direct threat to the sustainability of the NHS and patient safety. Well, first of all, what the hell are we doing with degrees for nursing? It is a practical profession. It doesn't mean to say you've got to be unintelligent to do it. On the contrary, brains should be very welcome. The big problem is that people coming out of university have got a degree and a piece of paper, and quite often don't want to put that paper to work in the practical sense. They have that sense of entitlement that they've got a degree and therefore they should either start halfway up the ladder or should be given some sort of benefits as a result. Well, that is fair enough because degrees cost such a lot of money. We've got the whole system wrong. Degrees costs a lot of money, and that's silly. When in the 1960s, when I was at university, I dated a nurse, a trainee nurse, who actually paid to go to nursing school, who lived in and was on call and did lots of practical nursing. Yes, they got some academic training as well, but it worked extremely well. And youngsters, well, I say youngsters, people 18, 19, 20, flocked to get into these nursing schools. And we did away with them. In fact, what we did, much as was good about the Blair era, is we decided for class reasons, not for any practical reasons, that everybody should have a degree. That would be a leveling out policy. Well, it was anything but. It did nothing to make people feel self-worth, and everything to make sure that we are doing away with people willing to take on the less savory aspects of a profession. We are reaping what we got wrong in the first part of this century and the latter part of the last century. The Daily Express turns to the economy. We're on the up, so loosen the purse strings, Mr. Hunt. Jeremy Hunt has been urged to be bolder in going for growth so he can take advantage of improved economic forecasts, according to the Express. Leading experts told the paper that the Chancellor had enough headroom to knock £20 billion off the collective tax bill and should take further measures to boost the country. Whereas we got others that are saying he hasn't got any room at all. The fact is that the truth probably lies somewhere in between, because all these people who get to make the predictions don't get out into the marketplace. It is all theoretical, all worked out on a scrap of paper or on a computer nowadays. Experts have got it wrong. The people who do the surveys for elections and other public votes get it wrong. The people who forecast the economy get it wrong. People who forecast how people will react to a given circumstance often get it wrong. Why we bother to have these surveys, I have no idea, because 9 times out of 10, they are wrong. But it gives us a sense of satisfaction to think that whatever it is that we've been thinking has got the support of a survey which approves or agrees with our own individual thinking. So let's just dump what the surveys are saying and get on with what seems to be the solution on the ground. The Financial Times: Hunt weighs deeper public spending cuts to fund tax giveaway in the budget. The FT reports that Jeremy Hunt is considering slashing billions of pounds from public spending plans to fund pre-election tax cuts if he is penned in by tight finances in next month's budget. The paper says that Treasury insiders said the Chancellor was looking at further spending restraint after 2025 if official forecasts suggest he did not have enough fiscal headroom to pay for smart tax cuts. The paper also reports that billionaire British co-owners of a supermarket, Asda, borrowed millions more from their petrol station company to repay debt taken out to buy 2 private jets. Oh dear. Not fiddling the books exactly, but moving a little bit from Peter to pay Paul and so on. The I: interest rates remain above 2% for years, says bank chief. The FT reports, the I reports, that the Bank of England is expecting interest rates to start falling, and quotes Governor Andrew Bailey as saying they are not forecast to return to pre-COVID levels for years to come. No specific number of years mentioned. The Metro. Influencers will target Albanian migrants. The UK pays TikTok stars to stop boats, says the headline in the Metro. TikTok influencers will be paid by the government to urge migrants not to cross the channel. The Metro reports that the Home Office says it will help counter human traffickers who use the video sharing platform to sell the British lifestyle to people, tempting them to make the potentially deadly crossing. Okay, Declan. Is our chief of staff, Declan. Great guy. He's a great supporter for Mirador, and we're grateful to it. The Sun. A backlash for radio bosses, it says. A DJ's friends blast chiefs. Died of a broken heart after the BBC axe. The Sun says that radio legend Steve Wright died of a broken heart after being dumped by the BBC. The presenter was last on air on the BBC on Sunday, hosting a pre-recorded special Valentine's Day edition of his Love Songs program. I'm really sorry. That is a very typical high-handed approach by the BBC. I mean, they because the administrators are in the main a bunch of talentless people who don't understand their own product. Is that they make these silly decisions and then very heavy-handed in the way that they carry them out. That's why, in the main, the talent level and with amongst BBC people is very low. Yes, let's say it. It's very low. And where you get mouthy people who are supposedly talented, it's the way of covering up the fact that they're very shallow and that they don't have much to offer. But I've been dumped by the BBC. Why? Because of success. Sir Richard Francis, who became head of the British Council, was dumped by the BBC. Why? Because he was talented. Phil Sidey, who developed Pebble Mill at One and did sensible things like using the atrium space in BBC Edgbaston, now no longer extant, but in those days, he did something that was not only sensible, but innovative and brought a new era to the BBC. Sacked. The thing is that we all recognized our own talent. Yes, that sounds arrogant, I know. But we were able to bounce back and do useful things. I went on to be the co-anchor of an American coast-to-coast program, daily. Did that for a decade. And because I didn't have the subjective criticism of the BBC mandarins and talentless sub administrators, I lasted for over a decade. Yeah. There we go. The Daily Star. Britain hotter than Greece. Millions reckon Pongy Tootsies are adorable. The star never lets us down, does it? It never lets us down. Love is sniffing your smelly feet. Oh dear. Oh, a little bit of a sneeze there. And the Daily Star says that 2 million Brits insist they adore the smell of the partner's stinky feet. It's worth, I don't know how much the Star costs. It's worth getting it as a second paper. It really is. The Daily Star, 90p. Well, it's a bit cheaper than the others. It's still bloody expensive, isn't it? 90p for a newspaper. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. So there you go. You can try sniffing your partner's feet tonight and see whether it turns you on. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. It's 8:58. It's 8:58, and that is time for us to end our first segment of the day and take a little break. But let's just the weather is a remarkable day. It's a remarkable balmy day. It's 14 degrees. Right now it's 12 degrees. That's 14 degrees is what it was towards the end of last summer. And there's a gentle breeze, so we don't have the chill factor. It is a lovely, lovely day out. Yes, there's some cloud, and it was pretty thick this morning, and some of it is still around, but it's going indoors. We're going to get some sun. So, and no rain that I can see. There's no rain forecast, although we did have some earlier this morning. Actually, let's see whether that's no, it's not working. I'm having real problems with the mouse. No, there is 11 o'clock this morning, 9% of chance of rain. So there might be a shower or two, and then it's going to be dry right through until 8 o'clock tonight, when we might have more showers. There's a 14% chance of rain. Settling down overnight it's got to be 2 o'clock in the morning before we get 26% chance of rain. So that's the weather for you out there. The headlines, front pages, the main stories are, apart from smelly feet, in the Daily Star. The worst anti-Semitism for 40 years, for which we should hang our head in shame. We should hang our head in shame. And NHS nurses crisis. But you know, a lot of that is a sense of entitlement of people having a degree and thinking they can start halfway up the ladder. You can't. You come out of university with a piece of paper that says that you're proficient in certain things, and you may well be, but you're not proficient in the marketplace, in the workplace. Get used to the idea that you're really going. It gives you the right to get onto the bottom rung, and that's where you start to learn your trade. And so many young people are coming out with a degree who think that it is a golden key. It's not. And when you enter the workplace, you are very sniffy. And you think that you're misunderstood because you're not given, well, let's face it, you're not made a brain surgeon the moment you walk in through the front door. So let's get back to nursing hospitals, training hospitals. We need to learn from the past what works in education, not a lot of these fancy ideas, which are really designed to support woke theories or to make people have excuses for what they can't achieve. Oh dear, dear, I am condemning and damning this morning, aren't I? Never mind. Never mind. Why? Why not be? Yes, we call the spade a shovel. It's now 3 minutes past 9. We'll be back about 9:15. For the moment, tune Pip.
From Lewis in the Black Horse Pub.